What are the individual registrants' responsibilities to revalidate?
What they must do is make sure that they've got their appraisal fixed. So they need to find out from their line manager. We're talking about organisations, trusts, NHS hospitals. They need to find out when their appraisal is. They need to be doing that now. They need to be obtaining feedback in the way that we've suggested through the appraisal model and revalidation model. They need to make sure that they've reflected on their practice, that they've looked at the standards set out in the code, and they have that professional conversation at the appraisal meeting with their appraiser. Confirmation happens thereafter. But what we're saying to individuals is get that sorted now. Find out when your appraisal is due and have that conversation. Build your portfolio so that when it comes to that professional conversation, you have it there, you've done the reflective practice, you know what the standards are, and you can then submit that to the NMC.
And as an employer, what will your responsibilities be to the registrants that work for you?
To make sure that you can support those individuals. So, number one, that you have a system in place where appraisals can happen. That there is the opportunity for individuals to meet the requirements that we've set for revalidation. That appraisal conversation can happen, that professional conversation can happen, and that they can revalidate, which is linked to their renewal date at the moment because that's the legislation. And that's what they need to do. So organisations have to support individuals to revalidate. It's the individual's professional and personal responsibility to do it, but organisations must support it.
You and your team have been talking about the need for registrants to log on and have an account with NMC online.
Yeah.
Why is that important ahead of revalidation? Why should people be doing that now?
Because they know immediately when their renewal date is. And knowing when their renewal date is will tell them now when they have to revalidate. Because this is linked to renewal, so it is the 3-yearly cycle. That's the point at which they have to revalidate under our requirements. And if they go onto NMC online now, they will know immediately. Lots of individuals have been saying to us, I don't know when I'm going to come up for revalidation. Log on to NMC online and it will tell you.
And is there a way for employers to find out when their staff are due for revalidation? I mean, some of these employers that we talk to have got thousands of staff. So Is there a way for them to find out?
There is. They need to pull off a list within their own HR function of all their nurses and midwives in their organisation. And then they can check with us through NMC online when their renewal date is. So it is relatively straightforward and it's very quick. And if you try and use NMC online yourself, you can see how easy it is. So we'll support employers, but employers need to support the individuals.
And we'll just take this bit about the professional conversation into a bit more detail, if that's okay with you. The professional conversation should be with another registrant. So in most cases, you're expecting people to have their professional conversation with their line manager when they're a registrant. But in cases where people don't have a line manager who's a registrant, you'd expect it to be with somebody else. So what kind of conversations do you expect?
Okay, I'm not speaking out of turn here, but let me give you a real-life example. Eileen Sills, Chief Nurse at Guy's and St Thomas's, allowed me to observe her revalidation process. She went through it as a test case for us. Ron Kerr, her Chief Executive, conducted her appraisal. Jane Cummings supported that conversation as well, and I observed it. Eileen did her reflective practice, she built her portfolio. She said it was the first time in 20 years that she reflected on what it really meant to be a nurse. So there are circumstances in which you can have your chief exec, non-nurse or midwife, plus another professional. And between the three of you, you have that professional conversation. Now, if you've got someone like Eileen saying it's the first time in 20 years I've reflected on what it means to be a nurse, revalidation adds value.